One. Okay, we're good. Welcome to the Monkey Bar. Biggity boogity skibbity scoobity is the Monkey Bar. We're back here live with Zach and Tony. I don't know if I ever told you about that, because one of our videos is titled that, and it was going to be like a forced catchphrase intentionally, and I think it was like specifically for that episode, and I just completely forgot to bring it up. It was a biggity. No, I think I thought of that like a while before that, and I was just going to drop it randomly in an episode. It's going to be our I hate that this is the first catchphrase that comes to mind, but the wubba lubba dub dubs from Rick and Morty. I was just going to
say bazinga.
Yeah. Which one is worse? I don't know. Nope, nobody will. I don't know. But we got some stuff to talk about today. Stuff that
good stuff.
Yeah, stuff that I thankfully wrote down, so we won't be going off the top of my head or top of your head or anyone's head for that matter. Let's see if we can stretch all this out, because I didn't write down a lot. Before we started, we were talking about I can't even remember, and it was just a minute ago. We had pug skulls for one. I just looked up that image, and it looks like it's freaking wild. It looks like a Chernobyl baby skull or something. The first link is
when you said Chernobyl babies, all I could hear was the Muppet Babies theme, but distorted.
Mm-hmm. And of course,
looks like it.
Of course, this image is from Reddit. The first result is, of course, from Reddit.
They have a lot of skull thing on there, a lot of bone site Reddits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's weird and disgusting. What else were we talking about? It was. What was it? iDubbbz. He did a documentary recently. I think it was just today or the day before. It was last night that he posted it on Twitter. Was this documentary on Dax Flame. I don't know if you remember this guy. I think it was before your time, though. This was back in early YouTube, so circa 2008, 2009.
Right?
Yeah, I think I was only vaguely familiar with this person through Smosh, I think, because they featured him on one of their early videos, and also on Encyclopedia Dramatica. Most popular YouTubers or popular people were featured on there, but he was always kind of like this guy who he specialized in cringe videos before they were a thing. He sort of played this character, which was, I guess, unusual for the time in early YouTube, because I think they pointed out in the documentary of when you put yourself on YouTube, that's basically who you are, and whenever somebody did play a character, it wasn't like people assumed that's just who they were. But and even today, when they revisited this guy, it's not entirely sure. You're not entirely sure if he's playing a character or not. I think it was Jax Films who described him as the Charlie Kaufman of YouTube, or is that the guy? No, it's either Andy Kaufman. Charlie Kaufman's the director. Andy Kaufman. It's weird because I was confusing the two before we started, and I'm like, yeah, but he has this really weird, awkward personality now, but he's pretty genuine, so it seems like that. But I don't know. Early YouTube was weird.
It is. I would consider it like the no man's land of weird bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, back then, you could, anyone could make it. Smosh got their start just by lip syncing the Pokemon theme, and they ended up becoming, for a while, they were the #1 YouTube channel on YouTube, and they were dethroned by, I think, PewDiePie. So
I never did like Smosh. I say that.
I will defend some of their videos. I think that I always preferred Upsy movies over them. And Upsy movies did a parody on them. And I mentioned this before, but there are some Smosh videos that I still kind of enjoyed. Or I mean, I haven't revisited them in a long time, but I remember the last Smosh video that I genuinely liked was their Stuck in a Toilet video that parodied the movie 127 Hours. I haven't watched 127 Hours yet, but you know what that's about? It's about the guy who gets the rock climber.
Yeah, he gets his legs stuck in a rock. Yeah, I'm familiar with the movie.
Yeah, and it's like the movie was directed by Danny Boyle, who directed 28 Days Later, Slumdog Millionaire. A lot of his movies are really good. He also directed the Yesterday, that movie where it's like the alternate timeline where the Beatles don't exist. I think we talked about that one before.
I remember that. Yeah. God. So, God, early YouTube, I remember there were so many Saw parodies.
Were there?
There were. I remember there being SpongeBob going for Saw. I remember there being and all the different killing Elmo shit. Remember, I was a stupid kid on there, so I didn't know what the fuck I was looking up.
Yeah, what year would this have been?
2000. God, let me look it up.
I think it would have been. Oh, obviously, it would have been after Saw was released. Year after that.
Yeah. God. So after Saw. Oh my God. I just remember all the videos of crappy just commercial bumpers I used to watch.
Mm-hmm.
God, early YouTube memories.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah, I don't think I ever latched onto the trends at the time until maybe until fairly recently, in the last 5 years, when I started investing my time and attention into specific YouTube channels, other than Upsy Movies and I guess some other ones. I remember Marble Hornets. I was sort of into at the time. You remember?
Well, Marble Hornets is cool.
Yeah, and
that's how I found out about Slender Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably where I got most of my information on Slender Man too. And it was overall a really good production. I remember they tried to follow it up with a I don't know if it was a sequel series or if it was a different project altogether. It's called Clear Lakes 44, and where Marble Hornets was a found footage thing. This one was found footage, but strictly from surveillance cameras, and after a while, all the videos just kind of disappeared. And I heard it was from a contract dispute with the company that they were producing the shorts with, or something. I don't know the specifics, but yeah, I think that that production team that did Marble Hornets and that other series, they just sort of went their separate ways. I might be wrong about that though. I don't know if their YouTube channel is still up. I would have to check, but yeah,
I think they did a DVD release of Marble Hornets.
Yeah, I remember they did that. And I remember reading a Roger Ebert review of the series, and he gave it a good review. And of course, this was after the DVD release, so at that point, it was a real movie and not just viral videos. Even though it's still a production. But I think that back then you could ride the line between, is this real? Is this fiction or what? The class, the golden age of creepypasta, sort of. You don't really see that anymore. The last one I can think of is Pets Cop, which I don't know if you've watched that yet.
I have yet to. I have to admit, I have to be in a mood for creepypasta.
Right.
You have to I have to be ready to not spooked, but I have to be in the mood to be going that would be unsettling.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that Pets Cop is probably the last classic creepypasta. Like, I mean, until the next one. I don't even know what the next one would be because I know like Pets Cop was sort of like a the cursed cartridge type of creepypasta, but there's so much effort put into it that's that's what I mean by golden age, where it's like you doubt whether or not it's real or not. There's that sort of gray area, even though it's clearly made up. Is like just having that doubt in your mind, just having it plant that doubt in your mind makes it worth it. But
sorry.
Well, I mean, like probably the next one is going to be VR, and that's going to be like really like spooky, where it's I don't know how you would pull it off though. It's gonna be
LostGirl.exe number 2.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. We'll just have to keep our eyes peeled for the next one. It reminds me of like the Harmony Korine movie Trash Humpers, and how he said he was thinking about before he released it, he was considering just making one copy and like leaving it by the side of the road on like the sidewalk or something, and just wait for somebody to stumble upon it. And it makes me think like maybe that's what the next big creepypasta is somebody's already found it, or it's already happened, and somebody did just that.
You know what I wonder about creepypastas? I wonder if you go back, I wonder if you could like sort them into categories and like do it like how they do like categorizations of like sword and sorcery genre, but it would be like found cartridge, mysterious program, evil cursed virus.
I mean, I'm sure that there's like on the Creepypasta wiki, which I obviously don't frequent because I would know this if that were the case, but there's probably categories of, exactly that. It separates it into exactly that. So I don't know. But back on Dax Flame though, I liked seeing him like in this documentary. They were trying to find people to collaborate in this like reality show that he had like spitballed in this book that they wrote and self-published, and he was just going on the streets of LA, I think, and just going up to people and asking them would you want to be in a YouTube video? Do you like game shows? That kind of stuff. And it reminded me of when I was at the Neo Comic Con last year, or was it the year before? I don't know, but when I was going up to people and advertising the Kickstarter or Indiegogo for Inevitably Doomed, and it was awkward at first, but like I managed to like hand out all these cards, and just seeing him try to do that too, like a similar thing, it sort of made me empathize with him. It was like and he was stumbling through the words, kind of like how I am right now. So yeah, obviously I'm going to empathize with him. And he's just like coming from such a genuine place. And me, I'm just sort of like a sarcastic asshole sometimes. So it would be a completely different vibe if I was doing the same thing. And I have. So yeah, he seems like a great guy, and I hope that he gets back on his feet. Because like the title of the documentary is called Ice Cream Man. And it's because he works at, like right now, at least, he's working a dead-end job as an ice cream man in a store in LA, and he just talks about how much he hates it. And he was an actor for a while. He had these bit parts in like 21 Jump Street and like these other sort of comedies like Project X. So, but yeah.
I always find it interesting seeing the thread of someone's life, how it goes,
Yeah. Oh, the thread. I thought you said threat.
Fred.
Mm-hmm.
like the Greek version, not like killing someone. No.
Right.
God, I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Just like some people live really fucking interesting lives,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he seems like a really nice guy, so I'm hoping that he find success soon. It seems like it's hard for a lot of people to find success right now. Speaking of, and we'll get to that later. I mean, just on a whim. I mean, it is sort of on the same thoughts. Is last night I was yeah, because I've been working on the comic still. Just been hitting roadblock after, or more like speed bumps. But I was going back through my bookshelf library trying to find something to re-inspire me, and I find that I always go back to books on animation to get me to get back in that creative mindset. So I always pick up the Animator Survival Guide, Survival Kit, whatever, by Richard Williams, the late great, one of the greatest animators of our time. We're actually coming up on the anniversary of his death, so it's a sort of a coincidence, anyway, that I managed to picked up his book again.
I remember when me and my grandmother, I couldn't sleep. It was before I was going to get some surgery done. We were channel surfing at the hospital. There was on TV, they were playing a really, really you know that shitty version of The Thief and the Cobbler, Arabian Night?
Uh-huh.
They had that on there.
Hmm.
It was so bad, it was fucking hysterical.
Uh-huh.
And I can only imagine, like, the disappointment he had.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he never watched it. Apparently, like, there's an interview with, there was an interview with his son, and him saying, you know, like he was telling Richard Williams about it. He's like, you know, if you ever feel the need to jump off a bridge, then watch this, and it'll give you that extra push. So.
There is one good scene. They have a Brigand song that is so fucking awful, it's great.
Uh-huh.
God.
Yeah, but I would highly recommend watching the recobbled cut instead. It's definitely worth it.
I do want to see it. I do want to see it.
Yeah, it works best as a reel of if you look at it from a purely technical standpoint, and it does have a good story too. But like from more than that, it's a technical movie. It shows like all these like the greatest animators who ever lived, the greatest traditional animators, like Ken Harris, Grim Natwick, like all these like legends from Disney and Warner Brothers, putting in like all as much of their talent that they built over the years into each and every sequence. And there are some parts where it's like some unfinished parts here and there that sort of break it up, but you can still see the ambition behind like every single frame. It's just brilliant to watch. I mean, especially if you're an animation nerd like me. I like to call myself an animation enthusiast, which translates to somebody who's attempted animation but's too lazy to animate anything right now. That's why I focus on comics, but I do think about animation a lot. Every now and then when I need to pick up myself and get to work on something, I look at animation because I think that it's what animation is really interesting because you can be a really terrible artist, but if you make something move, it immediately makes that work like 10 times better. Probably because there's like you have to do a lot of drawings to make to make any kind of animation. I mean, unless you're like using a program with tweening and stuff, but even still, that's like a lot of extra work from like you can make a crappy drawing, and even with like software, you're still putting in the extra steps.
I always you talk about how you're an animation enthusiast. I'm a stop motion enthusiast. I always, if I could, I would make a movie that has the old Harry Hawson vibe if I could. There is something magical about that. I apologize.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. What else we're going to talk about? I mean, we can go into talking about fan animations as well. I think this also ties back into not really the golden age of YouTube. I think like the silver age, or the going from the mid to late 2000s to the early 2010s. Because I remember, I think it started mostly with Game Grumps, with like the fan animations of Let's Players or podcasts. I think most of that started with Game Grumps, if I'm not mistaken. But ever since then, there's just been sort of a renaissance with animation on YouTube. It's been growing steadily. I don't think it's ever reached the heights that it used to when, because I think of like the monetization system where they switch from number of views to watch time. But yeah, there's always been like fan animations of gaming channels like Game Grumps, still Oni Plays, Super Best Friends, all that, like all these podcasts. It's I always thought it was really cool to see that, and it helps these animators. It helps animators and artists get exposure.
I always like it when there's like say an animated music video, not like when they're using you know how sometimes they use existing animation, but like when they're using their own stuff, their own animation to existing songs.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
I know the creator of was it the Has-Been Hotel. She got her start, or like she got a lot of attention from that Kesha music video she did, which like gave her the like the views and attention for her to do the Kickstarter for Has-Been Hotel.
I think one of the best of the animated music videos, fan animations, there is an artist named Voltaire. He's one of my favorites. He did the Brain song for Billy and Mandy.
Oh yeah,
super nostalgic about him.
Mm-hmm.
Someone took some of his songs music videos, like for The Night. They did one for the Underworld song that they did for
yeah, the movie.
The fucking I forgot what that movie's called.
It's
Boogie's Big Chase, whatever.
Billy and Mandy's Big Boogie Adventure, the movie. And I remember I remember that title because like one of the commercials that they had for that was a parody of the Head On video. Head On, apply directly to the forehead. And they kept repeating the title over and over again with that puppet of Dracula. And that was probably, like their version of Dracula is probably one of my favorite characters from Billy and Mandy.
God, I forgot about him. Let me look him up and have nostalgia hit me.
It was like a parody of Blackula, or the Blaxploitation.
Oh my
Dracula.
God!
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God!
Dracula don't want to do that. Dracula want to go home and eat potato chips. Something like that. Hey kids, you want to see Dracula dance?
Yeah. Oh my fucking God! Holy shit! That's Fusion Fall was kind of disturbing when they take the character into the 3D.
Oh yeah, Fusion Fall. Yeah, I remember it had a decent art style though.
Yeah,
I think that I want to say that they took inspiration from Bleed Man, but I don't know if that is the case. Because
I would say it's just mutual. They both took from the same sources.
I think they both have the same idea of translating like Cartoon Network characters into a more anime art style. Yeah, like if there's anything I don't want to do, it's give Bleed Man credit for anything.
Hard fucking same. Oh my God, Hostelgado.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about him.
Yeah, it was a parody of Ash from Evil Dead. I mean, like, I think he was more visually inspired by Ash. I think that there are some parts of his personality that were influenced.
He's Ash fused with Snake Plissken.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, he definitely has that Kurt Russell look, the mullet and everything. Yeah, Billy and Mandy was such a great cartoon.
It was.
I think there's sort of a new.
Oh my God, there's a character named Spurg.
Oh yeah, that was the bully character. But yeah, that's I think that nowadays, lately, I think there's been a sort of a resurgence of appreciation for that series. It is kind of the last popular gross out cartoon. I mean, it had moments of gross out that could actually be pretty graphic. I remember there's like I remember seeing recently the clip from like one of the episodes where Billy he falls off his bike and it like shreds his face across the like concrete, and he just has like a skull like and bits of flesh dangling from his face, but there's no blood, so it's okay. And like it just like they could get away with a lot of stuff like concerning like blood or like gore back then, just as long as it was dry gore, as I like to call it, where you don't show blood, or if it's like zombie goo, green goo, like that kind of.
Yeah, they used a lot of fucking goo.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know that there's a Warhammer fucking reference apparently?
Really?
Yeah, you know the character Nurgle?
Mm-hmm.
His minions are called Nurglings, which is a reference to Nurglings from Warhammer.
Huh.
Wow.
I don't know. That might be coincidental. Cause
I think that's like Nurgle's a name obviously from Mesopotamia, but Nurglings is a bit.
I mean, I always thought of it as Nurgle's underlings, and they would just condense those two. It might be maybe it's a reference. I don't know.
I think it is. They're basically the same character, being diminutive little monsters that follow their master.
All right. Like if there was any like visual similarity, then I would agree with you.
Yeah, good point. But God,
I remember there was a Dune reference. Like there was like a whole episode that was one big Dune reference where it's like a flash forward to the future, and Mandy's a giant emperor slug or emperor worm, and they're mining spice.
Oh, and there's Prank Call of Cthulhu.
Oh yeah, there's that. They reference there's a couple of Lovecraft references throughout the series, because there's also one where they summon Yog Sothoth, a reference to Yog Sothoth. Yeah,
it's weird. I'm going through its wiki as I'm talking to you, because it's amazing how much I forgot and then how much kind of stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Evil Con Carne.
Oh yeah, they were in the same universe. And I remember when the series first started, it initially started as Grim and Evil was the name, because it would be like it would be like 3 episodes in an episode. I never know how to like describe it, because it's like segments of an episode might be counted as an episode, or like 20, like over 22 minutes, like 3 shorts. But is each short counted as its own episode? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. But anyway, like there would be 3 segments. There would be 2 that are Grim centric, and 1 that's about Evil Con Carne. And eventually, I guess they just dropped Evil Con Carne for a while and focused on Grim. But eventually, they reintroduced the Evil Con Carne characters into Grim Adventures.
Wasn't there a gorilla in Evil Con Carne?
I don't know. I don't.
It had like its stomach and its organ were its own like talking thing.
Well, that was the main character. He was in the body of a bear.
Bear. It was a bear.
Yeah.
God, I just remember the evil, the general character.
Yeah, there's General Scar, who was the first one to be reintroduced into Grim Adventures. But yeah, the main character of Evil Con Carne, it was Hector Con Carne, who's the brain attached to the bear named Bosco. And his brain in his stomach is sentient. You see, it's weird how I've retained this much knowledge about this show, and I don't think I've watched.
You see what sticks with people?
Yeah, like anything I think during your formative years, like anything that you like pick up or you're hyper focused on. So I think especially cartoons, I think it's normal. Or for like an autistic fuck like me to remember a lot of that stuff.
Oh, oh my God! I didn't even know he was a gorilla, and apparently he was meant to be a gorilla.
Oh.
But they changed him to be a bear to be a Yogi Bear joke.
Uh-huh. I remember, like, that reminds me of an episode of Billy and Mandy where Yogi and Boo Boo show up as like in like one of the episodes, and they're portrayed like crack addicts. Like, hey, you got a picnic basket right there? Mind if I take a look? Give me that basket, you fucking kid.
Just
Yeah.
Yogi's fiending like, where the fuck is in basket?
Yeah.
There was that episode that was a cross between Jurassic Park and Aliens that had the chickens.
Oh yeah, that's right. They were stranded in the desert, and they like fall into like the secret lab in the volcano or something. And yeah, I do
God,
because like the eggs were made of acid, and yeah, man, that show was so good. I wish that there was a legal way I could watch it. I think Cartoon Network has their own streaming service right now, but no, actually, I think that that's still like dependent on whether like if you have a cable, like if you have cable, then you can watch it online. But if you don't, then like yeah, yo ho it.
yeah, God.
If I don't know if like the episodes are like mastered for digital or if it's just like rips from the DVD. There's like I always come back to As Told by Ginger because I don't think that ever got a I don't think the last season in particular ever got a proper DVD release. So whenever I see it online, and that's really the only way you can watch it online because you can't get it on Amazon Prime anymore, which sucks. But yeah, like the only thing the only way you can watch it right now, to my knowledge, is like just like watching it on a backdoor streaming site. I know that Nickelodeon has their own streaming service, the Splat, and I haven't checked that recently, so I don't know. Like As Told by Ginger seems like one of those series that's just like gotten tossed to the wayside, and a lot of people seem to hate it just because of its art style, which I think is really unfair.
You know, art style is important, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
I do admit it's not my favorite style, but it's the one. Yeah, but it's sort of the same style as the Thornberries,
Yeah, I
which
mean,
is
same studio.
yeah, it's a bit hard on the eyes, but I wouldn't say I hate it.
Yeah, it looks better than Thornberries, in my opinion. Everybody says like, "Oh,
I
it's the
like
worst."
the Thornberries though.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can see where people come from when they say that it looks worse than the Thornberries because Thornberries they have like those exaggerated caricatures. Like Nigel, his like nose is just comically large, like beady eyes and everything. It's meant to accentuate character, whereas like As Told by Ginger, it's a very grounded world and very grounded in reality. The characters are made to reflect that while also having like this sort of like semi exaggeration. I always look at it in the way that's like the uncanny valley with cartoons. So I think that maybe you could argue that As Told by Ginger has that uncanny valley thing going on with it, where they don't fully commit to exaggeration. They don't fully commit to making it aesthetically pleasing or whatever. I don't know. It just never really bothered me. I don't think I can really fairly weigh in on it.
I will say it's hard for an art style to get to me. The one time it did was when I was reading that Vote Loki comic and it physically made me fucking ill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God.
Or I want to ask these people, like, who think that As Told by Ginger is the ugliest cartoon. I'm like, have you seen Big Mouth though? People
God.
Yeah, I mean, it would be neat to see like with all these back on the fan animations. I forgot to mention the reanimated collabs where you take a.
Oh, I fucking love those.
Yeah. There are some that I haven't watched yet that I have saved on my watch list. There's like the Cartoon All Stars reanimated, which I think was actually organized by Vizipop, the creator of Has Been Hotel. I don't know if that's finished yet, though. But there was also a collaboration there was an episode of Game Grumps, and there was an episode of Oni Plays. There's an episode of Powerpuff Girls, and I think actually Shrek also was not just reanimated, but there was like live action segments where they just redid the whole. I think it's Shrek Retold. I think everybody knows about it, but yeah, it was this huge project, and even Chris Chan did a segment on that. Um, so yeah, like the reanimated collaborations are really really ambitious. So I wonder if anybody was going to do a reanimated collaboration for As Told by Ginger. I don't know how many people would show up for that, but I think it'd be worth a shot. Just to sort of like put people's money where their mouth is, where it's like, you think this cartoon is ugly, well, I'd like to see you do better, sort of deal. And I would be up for, like, if there's anything that would get me to animate something to break me out of take me from being an animation enthusiast to being a full-on animator, I would be up for that. So putting it out there for anybody, for all you Zero watchers listening right now, I'm up for that. As long as you organize it, then I'll be there.
I was just picturing what would be the worst thing to reanimate.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Just trying to think.
12-ounce mouse.
Oh fuck!
Because like with 12-ounce mouse, or
the joke is how shitty it is.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing about 12-ounce mouse is that the animation is the joke. Like there are some jokes in 12-ounce mouse that depend on there not being any animation. Same with to a lesser degree, like something like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I could see an Aqua Teen Hunger Force reanimation doing well, though. I think that would be neat to see. What else? What would your choice be?
I was trying to think, like, I wanted to picture, like, trying to, like, reanimate one of the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of those shitty ones.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go on.
It's hard to think of a cartoon that would be worse off reanimated. Because, like, even if, I don't know what the name of this principle is, where it's like more effort, like any level of effort any level of effort is better than no effort, kind of deal. And that goes especially with animation. Is what I was going back.
By the way,
that's what I was mentioning before with, like even if you make a terrible drawing, if you do a terrible drawing 24 times and make it move, then it's like 24 times as good as like one crappy drawing. Is like a sequence of 24, like 1 second's worth of crappy animation is like 24 times as good as one crappy drawing.
I was thinking why mention Hanna-Barbera. I really think the shitty, I don't want to call it shitty animation, but you know what I mean, right?
Limited, yeah.
Yeah, I love its style.
Oh, yeah.
I think it helps with its tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's why, with back on As Told by Ginger, I think I don't know. I think that's the reason why I sort of am an apologist for the art style. Is I always felt like the art style complemented the tone more than anything. Is that it sort of encapsulates or it accentuates that awkward like period and being a teenager or like a preteen and like going through middle school and just feeling like really awkward, and it's sort of like the fact that like Ginger's mouth is at the bottom of her chin or whatever. I think that makes her look. It always makes her look a little bit melancholy, which I really like. Like even when she's happy, she looks kind of sad, which I think it was a conscious choice. I don't think that it was because I mentioned the animator is not willing to commit. I want to go back on that and say it was probably a conscious choice.
I'm just picturing with someone with a mouth on their chin. Mm-hmm. They just. You know how birds kind of peck down? They're just swinging their head like a pecking bird. I apologize.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh yeah, we were going to talk about. I put this on my list. I think when I was thinking about animation last night, my mind went back to Mr. Enter. I think we talked about this before. But I think this was like a while back, maybe a year ago. Maybe it was right after the Kickstarter for Growing Around. when that failed, or maybe when it was still going on. But it just made me think about how really ill thought out that whole project was. I don't know if you ever looked into it.
I did when I was first talking about it with you.
Yeah, and from what I remember, it was just really. He really didn't really get his idea across all that well, like at all. If I was a producer looking at this, I'd be like, my first question for anyone who wanted an animated series produced, my first questions would be, what is the setting? Who are the main characters? What would a episode look like? What does the animation look like? He didn't have a demo reel. He didn't have. I think he had one 10-second clip of what the animation would look like, but that was it. That and just some concept art, and it all just didn't really. He was talking about here's what the subject matter would entail, and it was all over the place. We want to talk about serious themes like death or peer pressure or whatever. And it's like, okay, how does this? What makes this series special? What makes it stand out? And
why would I want to watch this and not just something else?
Yeah, yeah, I don't think he did a very good job getting around to that. Apparently, he's still trying to get this made, which I wish him the best of luck, but I really don't see it taking off or being that good. But again, I would love to see him prove me wrong. So, I mean, any independent animated series, anything ambitious like that, I'm always sort of rooting for, even if it's not something even if it's not my cup of tea, then I still want to see it. I still want to see them try. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can give an example. There is a monster movie coming out that will be, to my knowledge, the first giant monster movie coming out of Japan that won't have any heavy connections to existing franchise for a while. It's also going to be a monster movie that's a period piece. Lots of cool stuff, but it looks like Team America because it's a puppet show at the same time. I might not be interested in watching it, but I'm not going to shit on it because I support any creation of a monster. It's a limited genre. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's,
yeah. If John Rosansky starts another, it was just Mr. Ender's real name. I mean, I'm going to refer to him as John from now on because if he wants to be treated like a professional, I'm going to refer to him by his professional name. If John wants to make another Kickstarter, then again, best of luck to him. But I'm not giving him any of my money because I personally don't really care enough to invest any of my money or my time in it. I mean, that sounds really bitter and.
No, it's not. You're gonna cheer him from the sidelines. You're not gonna, ride on his ass.
I mean, not even cheer, but I'm just being like, yeah, sure. Just
you're gonna be like, if this was a sports movie, you're the bitter ex-coach who turns and you nod slowly when he succeeds.
No, I'm more like one of the extra in the parking lot while the team gets off the bus, just eating a hot dog and being like, yeah, that's something that's happening.
God.
But speaking of Kickstarters, Black Hops just went live today. Mark Pellegrini and Tim Lim, who we often talk about, we've had them on our show to promote Common America. They just released or started the Kickstarter for the Black Hops. Let me see if I can link it real quick. But yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Black Hops. It's it's basically G.I. Joe meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meets.
I've seen when they promoted. I don't know its gist.
Yeah, well, the idea is that it's like a G.I. Joe comic book, but it stars a bunny rabbit as the main character, who's the sort of dog from Call of Duty, but he's a little bunny rabbit. And but it's all like the story is played completely straight, from what I understand. And except like the only thing is that the characters are all like the main characters are all mostly cute fuzzy animals. Like the main character USAGI is a bunny. You have an otter character with a little Uzi. And it's all like really cute, but also has a lot of action in it. There's a little tortoise character as well. It's all really cool looking. Tim like always knocks it out of the park with his character designs. You got like explosions, you got gunfights, an engaging plot. They've already.
I love the turtle.
Yeah, they've already passed their I mean, it's not really a. It's more of a pre-order page than a actual campaign to get it funded. Because whenever they do these Kickstarters, it's always sort of a early release kind of deal where the comic's already finished. They don't need money to complete the comic or ship it. It's more of just paying it forward, where it's like you get your comic early for a little extra kind of deal, and you get like limited time kind of stuff like standee. It's like a body pillow tier that's already sold out. Or like
I hope it was a body pillow of just like one of the turtle or like one of the animals.
Actually, yeah, you can see there's the otter on one side with the main girl and on the other. It's where it looks like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, look, when a bunny. I know that Tim likes rabbits.
Yeah, that's the main character. USAGI, which took me a long time to figure out was actually a little joke, was Usagi USAGI.
Oh God, damn it. God. I hate that and I love it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can get as you can see, the body pillow tier is already sold out. You can still get the body pillow for the omnibus, because there's you can get either volume 3 or the collected 1, 2, and 3 on one book, which is the one I'm going to get once my paycheck comes in. I highly recommend it to anyone. I think I actually got the first issue on Comixology a while back. I just haven't gotten around to reading the whole thing, but I'm definitely going to do that later. Because
you know what I will always say about is Tim Lim the colorist as well, or I forget
he does all the art.
Because his fucking color work is probably what makes his stuff pop out, in my opinion.
I think on the cover he gets somebody else to do that. That's what's his name? Genzo Man. So Genzo Man does the color for the paint for his for the covers, but Tim does all the art. Mark does all the writing.
I think they're a cool group. I like them.
Yeah, they're a cool duo. There's a lot of actually former Comic Skate people who have been doing really good work. There's Tim and Mark. There's George Alexopoulos, who's working on Mary Sue #3 right now. I like George's work. Are you familiar with him?
I am not.
Okay, because he's done some like I said, Mary Sue, which is a sort of a manga inspired. I haven't read any of it, so I can't really talk that much about it. But I like his artwork. He does the art and writing for that book, and his other works. He mostly does. I've seen a lot of his political satire comics on Twitter, and those are really funny. And I like his art style is really cool. I think I've incorporated some of his style, at least to my memory, because he's one of the types of artists who does it all in black and white first, does the black and white pencil work first, and then paints over that in in Photoshop or Clip Studio. So he gets the shading done first, and then he adds the color, which I think most people do it, but I haven't seen a lot of people do it like he does. So that's a little bit of strategy that I've kept in mind. Other than him, also, of course, Preston Poulter. He just launched. Let me see if I can get it real quick, because he launched a campaign just today on. And it was something I was trying to figure out what exactly it was, but make 100 Guinevere in the Vending Factory #3, and that is where you can. And I didn't read this thoroughly before we started, so bear with me. It's like you get physical copies of the main cover versions of this stuff. I'm not sure exactly what it is specifically, but there's this one tier, I think is the point of the contest anyway, is if you're an artist, you get to exclusive right to sell 100 exclusive copies of this comic book featuring your own artwork on the cover. So that's
interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, which is probably why I'm trying to find the words to describe this campaign, is because I don't think I've heard anyone else do something like this. It'll be interesting to see the results. I'm not really planning on doing that myself, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Other than that, and there's some other ones. There's that one that I showed you, and I think we showed that on the podcast last time. Is the one with the flaming skull guy?
Yes, the big robot one.
Yeah,
kind of robot.
Mm-hmm.
The artifact.
Yeah. If it shows up on my Twitter feed, I'll share it right now, but it's not showing up. So go back to the previous episode, watch that all the way through to see what the hell we're talking about. And there's actually some other creators that I follow as well. Leafstrike Bomber. He does a series called Hellgasm. And that's on, I think it's on his own personal website, this webcomic, but that's really cool looking. It's basically like bimbos in hell that fight demons or whatever. And it's really bloody, it's really violent, a lot of boobs and butts. And overall, it's really cool. I recommend that one. I haven't caught up on it yet, but it's another one on my list to get around to reading all of it, catching up on it. Yeah, look up Hellgasm. It looks really cool. I like his art style too. A lot of thick inks, a lot of thick girls, and overall really entertaining. Really, it kind of reminds me of sort of cycling into the thumbnail of this video of when I was doing the cardboard art project that I had in my the whole
I remember that
this whole anarchic sense of humor. Where it's just I'm gonna write and draw whatever the hell I want, and not really in an antagonistic way of hey, take that SJWs, but more along the lines of, if I just want to do whatever the hell I want to do, whatever comes in my mind, I'm gonna put it on paper and then maybe refine it later. And that's kind of the vibe I get from Leafstrike Bomber, is that sort of sense of carefree, creativity. And just unhinged and unbound creativity that I think it's really appealing.
I've been trying to think of what I like best in creativity, because there's different kinds I've really come to realize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think perhaps my favorite is, you can tell when the person is just enamored with their work, when you can tell when they live it, they breathe it,
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good screenshot of his comic, because this doesn't seem like anything. I can't see any nipple in this, so I think it's safe to share. But yeah, that's basically what it looks like. There's this. He also does a webcomic. I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
God, there is a video game that came out with a very similar art style to that. Shit, Void Bastards.
Huh.
It reminds me of that, just the kind of art style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he also has another webcomic called Alex the Worst Webcam Girl or something like that. I don't want to like minimize this too quickly because that one's really explicit. It's intentionally, shoves boobs in your face, that kind of stuff. It's still really funny, but I just can't show it on here.
It's we gotta keep it PG.
Yeah, PG or like PG-13. Like since when did we PG?
It's PG, but they're shitty parents.
It's the type of PG where you get to say one F word. That's PG-13.
Oh, cool.
Let's see. Anything else you want to talk about?
I was trying to think about what my favorite kind of aesthetic in fantasy is, and I finally realized it. I don't want to wear the big fancy endgame armor. I want to look like a town guard. I think that would be a funny idea for a comic.
Mm-hmm.
Like the forces of darkness are looking for, like someone who looks like Cloud, and out comes this guy in shitty armor going like, "Hey, yeah, I'm the champion."
It's kind of like a version of the less clothes equals more power.
Yeah, it's like
equals more power.
Yeah, it's like I only had 10 minutes to get dressed today, so I just robbed the guards.
Just wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants.
It says his t-shirt says "get wrecked," but they misspelled "get" and also "wrecked."
Huh. I think that my favorite fantasy aesthetic is probably more along the lines of Conan.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Oh God, are you familiar with Kenshi?
Yeah,
I love Kenshi's art style. I love its creature design. Just for weird little, bug people.
Yeah. Have you played it?
Sorry. I have, and I suck at it, and I love it.
I've heard that bears a lot of resemblance to early Fallout games.
It does, but it's physics-based combat.
Right.
So, never group up on one guy, because he could just take you all out with one well-placed swing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I've always liked the Conan aesthetic. I remember I had an idea for a Conan style fantasy comic, and I would like to. I still have that saved in the back of my head. I haven't written any of it down yet, but it's just the idea or the aesthetic. So there's not much there, but I would like to try something like that eventually. If I'm able to. If I have the time to work on something like that, or if I need to shift gears, because like I've said, I'm still banging my head against the wall with this Cat Kid script. And also I've been rearranging my workspace for that reason as well, is that, I'm trying to do anything I can to really get the gears going. I moved my whole desk. I got like this arm mount for my graphics tablet, but now I need to I might actually have to get a second keyboard, because for the hotkeys, or get one of those what do you call them, where you have the second keypad for your for gaming with a joystick in it. I don't know. Yeah, I know some artists use that, because there actually are tablets with the hotkeys inside, in the tablets. Mine doesn't have that though, so I might just look into. And actually, I do have a separate numpad, but I might dust that off. Because I remember getting a second numpad just for that, but just didn't seem to work with with the setup that I had. But I might try that again. But yeah, it's not like I'm completely slacking off on this thing. I keep getting back to it. I keep trying every day, and that's really all I can do. And I have my moments of breakthroughs. That's why I say, it's not a wall; it's a speed bump. But yeah, like I've been thinking about, like again back on getting that animation book, dusting it off, flipping through it. You gotta like change gears a little bit. I find. I know that you do that too.
Yeah, I had this. It's no by enemy. It's my dark fantasy story thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a world that apparently when I don't know what to do, I just make life a living hell for some fantasy characters. That's apparently my recipe for success.
Mm-hmm.
Note, I haven't published anything, but I still have a recipe for success, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of living hell, I saw a video on YouTube. I guess it's this guy who takes these like fictional universes, like from video games and TV shows, and asks, would you be able to survive like this world? And one was for Half-Life 2, or the universe of Half-Life. And you don't really realize just how dire the world is until it's all laid out in front of you. Have you ever thought about that with Half-Life?
I want to argue, like, how bad is Half-Life 2? I don't know Half-Life that well.
Okay, well, like there's Half-Life 2 especially, it's after like interdimensional portal storms have decimated like 80% at best case of the population of the world. The Combine is invaded and like it's basically subjugated all of humanity to these like massive cities across the world. The outside of the cities, there's like fauna that will kill you if you step on, like like antlions will come out of the sand and just kill you within seconds, like swarms of them. Along with other alien wildlife. Most species of animals have been killed by said wildlife. And like the birth rate has been reduced to 0 in these cities by Combine suppression fields. And basically like a pan-galactic empire has the entire Earth under its thumb. So yeah, when you think about it, it's really just basically they made it as hopeless as possible, and yet it still is a series that still manages to maintain this, at least semblance of hope through it, which I always found like kind of admirable how they're able to do that. But yeah, the such situation is it's almost comically dire.
I think another, you know, it's a setting that people don't realize is dire. I think the 1950s Godzilla films. Think of like this is a world where you drop a cup on the ground too hard and a fucking giant irradiated lizard crawls out. And then it turns out that there's multiple different species of aliens, but they all want to fucking enslave and destroy the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then no matter what happens, there's this one big monster who just keeps coming back. Sometimes as a hero, sometimes as a villain. It's literally one of the most terrifying settings because, you can't win the war.
Speaking of kaiju, I just remembered, I don't know if you saw this on the Discord, but this picture of kaiju fans. Of,
God.
Or it's like, have you seen this?
We are the most autistic bunch.
Yeah, you don't really hear much from Gamera fans.
Oh, I love Gamera fans. I bring all kaiju fans together is what I think, because we might argue over who's the bestest, but at the same time, we will still watch each other's movies,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be neat to see, a fan made like back on, the reanimated or retolds, seeing the fans do a recreation of like maybe an obscure kaiju movie from the 60s.
Well, there used to be fan-made Godzilla movies, but the issue was the fans were people who worked from other companies.
Right.
Like one of them was called Godzilla versus the Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still sad we never got to see any footage from that because of the cease and desist.
Oh. Yeah.
Like, kaiju fans went hard back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems to be like the roadblock for fan films. I know that we talked about doing a fan film or some fan films in the film group, and then the subject always came back to the whole like cease and desist issue that we would probably inevitably face.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff just
like I understand why companies do it though.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I know that it was pretty recently that somebody brought up the importance of protecting IPs and how I think it was the argument that when a property goes in the public domain, it actually like the name sort of the name gets dragged through the mud more often than not. Like you look at Wizard of Oz and how once the copyright was up for public domain, the IP just never recovered, and how just how all these terrible adaptations started getting made. Nobody liked not Return to Oz, but it was Oz and the Great and Powerful, the one with James Franco. That one's I think that one bombed.
It was mediocre.
Yeah, and then there's the Tom and Jerry Go to Wizard of Oz, which was it's one, and I don't know if it's a long line, but there are a couple of terrible Tom and Jerry directed video movies. There's Tom and Jerry and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the one with all the terrible screen caps, or the I think the rumor was that the animators, set out to draw the characters as goofy and ugly as possible. Have you seen that, or the screenshots?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen some of the screenshots. Yes.
Yeah, where it's it's not even a question of in betweens, but there will be keyframes that look really really wonky.
God, I can you imagine working on those?
Yeah, it makes me want one of these, like these in particular. That's a keyframe. That's not an in between. If that was an in between, I would be like, okay, well.
No.
But yeah, that's very clearly a keyframe.
He looks like he's gonna fucking rape you.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say it, but then you did.
I'm sorry, I had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's this huge long list of, it reminds me of the Zelda CDI games.
But they're fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think there is a reanimated collab of the Zelda CDI game, or Wand of Gamelon. I think there are some good ones. There are some good segments in that one. I remember there was one that was hand drawn that actually makes it look like Thief and the Cobbler. Or at least the pen, it's at least only in pencil, but even the pencil work looks like it was very clearly inspired by Richard Williams.
My God. I was thinking about something kind of awful, by the way. Just, do you know what would be kind of the most fucking annoying monster to fight in a fantasy world?
What?
Centaurs. They are the cavalry and the infantry. And most of them fucking know how to do archery.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah. You don't really see centaurs in a lot of, at least modern fantasy books. The only ones I can think of are Harry Potter and Chronicles of Narnia.
I had this idea for No by Enemy, is that that centaurs are very common, but they're also belligerent ass fucks.
Mm-hmm.
They like to kill cattle and wear their skulls because they hate minotaurs. You can see why killing livestock wouldn't be a popular trait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Oh yeah. Shitty Web Comics, or Thomas from Shitty Web Comics. He's working on, or he's already done the script, but there's a comic of his in production called Villains of the Snow Sea. And the art, he got an artist who I'm not going to say who it is. I think he doesn't want to be credited right now, but like he actually sent me a message on Discord asking me about the choice of the cover. So he wanted my opinion, and it's funny because I think he ended up going with his first choice. And like I was like, yeah, I like the second one better, but apparently, I think, or at least he finished up the first one. I don't know if he's gonna go. I don't know which one he's gonna go with, but yeah, he like his art looks really good. I don't know if I should post the cover yet. I'm gonna wait for Thomas to post it at first. Get his permission.
Yeah,
or at least wait until it's public. But it looks good. It's featuring Laylee and Thomas in, I guess, an alternate universe thing where like they're snow pirates or something. I don't want to give too much away because I think the information he gave out was exclusive to the Patreon. So if you want more information about it, either ask him on Twitter or donate to his Patreon. I would prefer the latter because I want to see him continue to produce great work. This one looks like it's going to be really good. If literally is anything to go off of, obviously he's a great writer. So, and this one looks like it's going to be equally as great, if not more so. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Oh, you know what I'm kicking myself in the leg for? Fuck. When we had Thomas and his brother on the podcast, I forgot to compliment him on creating the best name for a character ever. I fucking love the name of Lord Hatefuck.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck. I have to. Damn it.
Yeah. I would like to see that get remade, or because I know that he was saying he wanted to get like a dedicated artist to do the whole script for that whole thing. I would like to see that get made. It's a really fun comic. At least the stuff that got completed looks great. I mean, I'm not one to toot my own horn, but me doing the last page of it, the last page to get illustrated. I think I did a pretty good job with that. I can't see myself doing the whole comic, being the dedicated artist, but yeah, I wish luck to anyone who eventually gets around to doing that, to illustrating that whole thing. But yeah, I think I think those are all the artists I wanted to plug, all the artists / writers, all the Kickstarters and such. Yeah, anything else you want to talk about?
I'm a bit talked. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, same. We've gone past the hour mark, so I think we're about ready to wrap up.
All right.
So on that note, I've been Tony.
I've been Zach.
And biggity boogity, skibbity scoobity, this has been the Monkey Bar.
The Monkey Bar.